The imp snapped its fingers, and suddenly Jack was hanging in midair outside the castle, a few feet from the barred window and hundreds of feet above the ocean below. Jack glanced around fearfully and swallowed hard. The rest of the castle was below him. He was hanging outside the very top of the tower in the tail of the dragon. Apparently the lit window they'd seen from the ground had been the jail. "Jack!" May screamed from inside the tower. The imp's eyes burned with greed as they stared at the princess. "Let's just say that if you want me to not release him at this point, milady, we'll have to make a second deal." May grabbed the imp by its white hair and smashed its head straight into the bars of her cell over and over. "Get him back in here," she screamed. The imp howled in pain. Outside, Jack abruptly dropped a few feet. As Jack shouted in surprise, May dropped the imp, who instantly collected itself. "That's a no-no, milady," the imp said, a cold gleam in its eyes. "Wouldn't want me to lose concentration and drop our hero boy, now would we?" "What do you want?" Jack yelled from outside. "What's the deal?" The imp jumped to the windowsill. "I'm a creature of few desires, good sir," it said. "Why, I'd be perfectly satisfied with, say, both your arms." Jack shook his head in disgust. The imp shrugged, and Jack dropped a few more feet, making him yell out again despite himself. This really wasn't going well at all. "What else?" Jack said, trying to keep his voice calm but failing miserably. The imp thought about it for a second. "You could hand over that pretty set of teeth," it said. "Or an ear. An ear and an eye." Its eyes lit up all of a sudden. "Ooh, I'll take every other word from the princess's tongue. That would serve me quite well. One can never have too many words after all." Jack shook his head again, and this time dropped out of sight of the window, coming to a stop about halfway down the dragon's tail. May screamed his name, but he waited to respond until he could hear her over the sound of his heartbeat. "I'm okay," he yelled finally. "You know, relatively, I'm actually a little scared for some reason." "I figured that out," May yelled in reply as the imp floated Jack back up to the tower's window. Clearly the imp had them, but maybe there was still a way out. Jack quickly ran through the stories he'd heard. What about... No, they didn't have a chicken. Or... wait. What about... a contest? Jack yelled. "I know better than to fall for that," the imp said disgustedly. "A cousin of mine taught a girl to spin straw into gold once. If she would give up her firstborn child. The girl agreed at first, then reneged on the deal. Typical human. Being the kind-hearted imp my cousin was, he agreed to one of your foolish contests. If she could but guess his name, he'd let her keep her gold and her child. The girl cheated, of course, as you people always do, and won! The imp's nostrils flared as it continued. Then the bitter little witch had her husband, the prince, rename every city in their miserable little kingdom by my cousin's name. He's a laughingstock to this day. He even had to exile himself to regain his dignity. May looked from Jack to the imp and back, and her eyes went wide. Mr. Little Imp Man, sir, she said, can I offer something? May, don't! Jack yelled, but the imp just waved its hand, and Jack dropped halfway down the tower again. Even though he couldn't see her, he could still hear the shaken May's voice. Okay. First of all, she screamed, you're going to have to stop dropping him like that. The imp shrugged, and Jack reappeared outside the window. Thank you, May said, sighing in relief. Now I have something to offer you if you'll bring him back in. Is it your skull? The imp said, licking its lips. The skull of a princess is a delicacy, you know. May stared at the thing in shock for a moment, then shook her head. No, she said. I have something much more valuable. Something I use each and every day. Something more important to me than my very life. The gleam in the imp's eye almost lit up the room. Jack started to say something to stop the princess, but she threw him a quick look that told him to stay out of it. He slowly shut his mouth, hoping she knew what she was doing. I'll give you, May said, then paused and leaned in close to the imp, who obediently followed suit. I'll give you my sarcasm, she whispered. The imp's smile slowly faded, and it pulled back away from her. Your sarcasm? Yes, May said, wiping a fake tear from her eye. I don't know if I can live without it. I'll just have to do my best. But princesses don't use sarcasm, the imp protested. Oh yeah, I never do, May said. Wow, the imp said, visibly impressed. That's pretty good. Who'd have thought a girl like me would know anything about sarcasm? May continued, snorting a bit. You are incredible, the imp said. It was jumping up and down now. Such a natural. It must be because I'm having so much fun right now, May said, rolling her eyes. You've got the deal, the imp screamed delightedly. It snapped its fingers, and Jack instantly appeared back in the cell. The imp snapped again, and a bluish light appeared over May's head. The light shone briefly, changing from blue to green, then disappeared. A second light, this one green, appeared over the imp's hatless skull, then turned blue and also faded away. Jake gritted his teeth and leapt for the imp, but the creature made as if to snap its fingers again, and Jake stopped short. You little monster! Jack growled, more furious than he'd ever been. If you've taken anything from her, I swear I will hunt you down and take it out of your empty skull, and I won't be using magic. Ooh, the imp said, shivering. I'm so scared. Then it laughed. Your sarcasm is amazing, princess. You had a master-level talent. May started to say something, then paused, looking confused. Yeah, she stammered. I used it a lot. She glanced at Jack, her eyes wide. I didn't think it was something he could actually take. You didn't know? The imp said, grinning evilly. Someone as worldly as you? I'm so surprised. Now? It snapped its fingers. May disappeared, instantly reappearing on the other side of the cell. My hat? Now that the imp had fulfilled its part of the deal, it didn't need Jack's cooperation. It snapped its fingers, and its hat reappeared on its head, leaving Jack holding nothing. Let him out too! May yelled from the other side of the bars. That was never the deal, genius, the imp said, stroking its hat lovingly. I just said I'd bring him in, and I did. He's stuck here, I'm afraid. I'm really surprised you didn't figure that one out sooner, though. Considering that huge brain you've got going for you. May glared at the imp, then suddenly smiled her half-smile. If you leave him in there, she said softly, I'll tell everyone your name. Ha! The imp shouted. You don't know it. It went back to stroke at its hat, but Jack noticed that it didn't seem quite as sure of itself. Oh yeah? May said. Let's just say I've heard of your cousin, and family names are family names. Aren't they, Mr. Stiltskin? The imp started to respond, then turned a very pale shade of white. How did... It stammered, then abruptly started howling and stomping its feet. It opened its mouth to say something else, then glared at the princess, who glared back defiantly. Finally, the imp dropped its head inside. It snapped its fingers, and Jack appeared outside the bars, right at May's side. That's what I thought, May said, turning up her nose at the dejected, sarcastic imp. You don't mess with a princess from Punk, little man, she said. Remember that next time. The imp pushed itself up against the bars. Oh, I'll remember you, princess, it said, its smile showing all 400 of its teeth. You can count on that. And then, with an unsettling wink, the imp disappeared.